of executing offensively and getting better quality of shot, in particular the final 10 minutes of the game, and then finishing out the possession, rebounding the basketball. They did not rebound the ball well enough in Las Vegas at the defensive end of the floor.
Butler in the black for the game's first possession. And the Houston defense right in the kitchen of the Butler Bulldogs. Tough challenge three. It's long from the corner for Pierre Brooks, the second. And the rebound controlled by Juwan Roberts for Houston.
And if you think about defense for Houston, you got to think about defense also for Butler. Really, really good. Very different style. What they want to do is just contest every shot. They play position defense. They don't look for turnovers. They don't force a lot of turnovers. They don't get a lot of deflections, but they also don't lunge and reach and get themselves out of position.
LJ Cryer weaves his way in. Three to shoot, launching a three from the top. Milos Uzan with the game's first points, the Oklahoma transfer.
Patrick McCaffrey was just a little hair step off and created a little bit longer closeout, gave him a clean look.
Uzan 47% from three to start the season. One change in the Houston starting lineup. Joseph Tugler, who came off the bench the last 6 games for the Cougars after starting the opener, is back in the starting lineup for number 17 Houston. And the block shot by Juwan Roberts. Here comes Houston in transition.
We asked Coach about Tugler going back in the starting lineup. What did he tell us? It's as easy as 1 + 1 = 2. He's been the best player in Kelvin Sampson's eyes and says he needs to be out on the floor and he deserves to be starting. And so thus he's in the lineup tonight.
5 to shoot for the Cougars. Emmanuel Sharp.
Great pass.
Inside, and the slam by Joseph Tugler.
Anytime you draw 2 to the basketball, you're playing 4-on-3 offensive advantage. In particular, when you get that in the middle third, and an excellent job by Sharp handling the pressure and delivering a great pass. Roxy, there is no help in the middle of the floor when it's in middle third.
Diving on the floor, JoJo Tugler knocked it out of bounds. It stays with Butler and 9 on the shot clock.
Defense leading to offense, always so important for Houston, and it starts with great mobility and athleticism at the defensive end to block the shot and then carry it down to the other end of the floor and watch the double come onto the ball. Nobody's there to help in the middle of the paint. That's an easy 2.
And the step back 3 missed by Pierre Brooks. LJ Cryer off a high ball screen, and a long rebound, Patrick McCaffrey for Butler.
I always think when you play a team like Houston, the first 4 minutes, it's about settling into the game. It's about understanding, because you can't, we talk about this all the time, you cannot replicate the pressure that they apply defensively and how disruptive they are. You have to feel it and then understand how you have to operate within it.
And a foul that will send Finley Bizjack, sophomore from the Dallas area, to the line for Butler. Fouls on Joseph Tugler of Houston. The first whistled against the Cougars. And Bizjack 69% from the line this year. Last year part of the All Big East freshman team. Welcome those of you just joining us to the Fertitta Center in Houston, Texas, part of the Big 12 Big East battle, along with Sean Farnham and our ESPN crew. Roxy Bernstein with you, and first point of the game, Finley Bizjack for Butler, as Houston has come out with that suffocating defense and a 5-1 lead early for number 17 Houston.
You knew after the way things went in Las Vegas for this Houston team that this was going to be a team that was going to come out fired up and focused.
Emmanuel Sharp, the miss from deep, and diving for the loose ball, but it goes out of bounds off Butler as the hustle from Augusto Cassia. Thad Matta, in his second go-around with the Butler Bulldogs, his 3rd year with Butler with this stint, and his 20th overall as a college head coach.
Look at the consistency he's had, averaging almost 25 wins per season over the course of his head coaching career.
Couple of Final Fours, of course, a long run at Ohio State for Thad Matta. As LJ Cryer, the pull-up jumper, rattles out. Joseph Tugler, the offensive rebound, and a whistle. And he's out of bounds, and we're going the other way. It belongs to Butler. Kelvin Sampson, Cougars off to a 4-3 start, as we just talked about, Sean, before we got on ESPN2. Very easily, his team could be 7-0 this year.
Double-digit lead against Auburn in the second half. Up 9 against Alabama. Second half lead against San Diego State. And they just became a little bit disjointed and lost focus on the details at both ends of the floor. They had poor quality of shot, and then defensively they were a little bit slow in their rotations and not being as aggressive as Coach Sampson needs them to be. That's been the emphasis over the last couple of days of practice. Can't leave that guy open.
Patrick McCaffrey. And the rebound grabbed by Joseph Tugler for Houston.
McCaffrey coming off a game, though, with 5 made three-pointers. You cannot leave him that wide open.
Grad transfer from Iowa. Milos Uzan, a step-back 3. The offensive rebound, Juwan Roberts, and a kick out for the Cougars. Here is Roberts going to work down low. Manuel Sharp launching. 3!
You talk about sharp shooters. He's one of the best in the country from deep. Roxy, 20 of his 28 made field goals coming into this evening were from beyond the arc.
And he's 53% out there so far this season. Butler trying to get on track at this end. Finley Bizjack trying to drop it off to Andre's screen. And he's challenged, a block shot by Juwan Roberts, who with a win today for Houston would become the all-time winningest player in Houston history, as the steal, but blowing the layup is Finley Bizjack.
You cannot miss those opportunities if you're Butler and you're looking to try to get a road win in this environment. Because that last possession offensively leading up before that steal, that is exactly how Houston wants to play. They want to make you feel uncomfortable the entire time the ball is in your hands.
3 missed by Emmanuel Sharp, and hustling for the rebound, JoJo Tugler for the Cougars.
The offensive rebounds just continue to come, giving extra possessions to Houston early.
It's already 4 offensive rebounds. Juwan Roberts had it knocked away. The quick hands of Jamil Telfort, and it's off of Houston and a Butler ball, but a good start for the Cougars.
Yeah, good ball, move you physically and with that defensive mindset. And it's had a top 10 winning percentage in college basketball the last 10 years in the Aztecs. Sometimes when you take lumps, you get to grow. And one of the things Kelvin Sampson brought up was something similar to what Coach Hurley said earlier this week is it's difficult to make adjustments when you're in a tournament and the schedule that you play. And in Vegas, they weren't able to really fully address the issues that they were having. And today, certainly at shoot-around, they were focused on the attention to pressure, bringing 2 to the ball with hands up, the defensive rotations that are necessary to be successful. And so far, it's worked out fabulous because Butler is 0 for 7 from the field through the first 6 minutes of this game.
Javier Francis. But it's definitely a work in progress for Kelvin Sampson and the Cougars.
How can it not be when you lose a guy like Jamal Shead?
Yeah.
Look, you don't want to make too much out of it, but Jamal Shead and the connectivity that he had with his coach, and that's the first bucket made by Butler, it literally was an extension of Coach Sampson out onto the floor. His understanding and initiating the defense and how physical you have to be at that end of the floor. Uzan hasn't figured it out yet. He's got to figure that out.
And he's also looking for leadership because Shed was the leader of this team. And now you have players that are thrust into leadership roles that haven't been in this position before. And that's the other adjustment that Houston's making. And a lot being put on the plate, for example, of LJ Cryer, who has accepted that leadership
role. That's going to be an offensive foul on Telfort.
And the charge on Jamil Telfort. And a turnover on Butler.
Sharp did a great job of positioning himself to absorb that contact. I spoke with him before the game. I said, obviously you shoot the ball so well. What continues to be your focus? And he goes, listen, I play basketball in Houston. My focus is on defense. and he gets it. And good job defending one of the best scorers in the Big East and just cutting off that lane and absorbing the contact.
And Houston always pays a lot of attention to defense. That's just Kelvin Sampson's DNA as a coach. But this week, they really paid a ton of attention to that end of the floor, trying to fix some of the issues they had defensively in Las Vegas. And a foul as Javier Francis trying to go through Andre's screen, and the first foul on the senior from New Orleans.
You know, as much as Butler has struggled at the offensive end of the floor, it's only a two-possession game. Houston has not been very efficient at the offensive end. And a lot of that you have to give credit to how Butler plays defense. As I talked about early on in this game, Butler's got one of the best field goal percentage defenses in all of the country. And it's based on playing position defense. It's not pressure defense like you see from Houston, but it is position defense, and they want you to take a lot of contested jump shots. They stay between you and the basket. They don't give you a free seam.
Spotting up in the corner. And a three off from Pierre Brooks. And the rebound grab by Juwan Roberts for the Cougars. Covering Terrence Arsenault for Houston. And Arsenault, the pull-up jumper.
Now you're looking for production off the bench. Arsenault could be that guy. And as he gets more comfortable, his consistency and production could continue to elevate for Houston.
Houston doesn't lose very much, and they win a lot when they're coming off losses. As the block shot inside by Javier Francis. As the Cougars have won 29 of their last 31 regular season games are coming off a regular season loss. And they lead it here by 7 against Butler.
And offense is going to be tough to come by today. When you get an opportunity to elevate up over the top and knock down a clean look, you better take it. Houston would be a lot better for Thad Matta right now if his team could battle a little bit better on the glass. Houston has 4 offensive rebounds. Butler has a total of 2 rebounds so far on the game, and it's a 13-2 advantage.
Percy Miller on the baseline, the freshman from Southern California.
This young man can score the basketball. At 61 in a high school game at Notre Dame Sherman Oaks. He gets his feet set underneath him, and he can fill it up where he has to grow. And trust me, we saw it today at shoot-around. It's at this end of the floor, scrambling and playing with purpose.
Deflection picked up. Colby King in the key, and elevating is Javier Francis. Here comes Houston. Percy Miller, who is the son of Master P, with the runner, and then falling down on a follow slam, Terrence Arsenault. Here comes Butler in transition. Andre's screen barrels his way, and an offensive foul.
That's the second charge of the game called against Butler. Great job getting set early. You know, so much of the time about charge, you got to get your feet set before the gather. Clearly was planted. Good job. This play here that they're going to run for Houston. Watch this. Yeah, LJ Crier's going to bring it up. You've got both bigs posting up. He can cut off the ball or go opposite. He chooses to go opposite here. Should rescreen. They've got some good action off of that early in the season.
Offensive foul, the illegal screen, the second foul on Javier Francis.
Yeah, Francis was just moving.
Little over-aggressive with the screen.
Is there such a thing in the Houston program?
That's a very good point. Because if you don't play with that edge, you don't play for Kelvin Sampson. Butler just 3 points, and we've played over 9.5 minutes. They are 1 for 11 from the floor and have missed all 5 threes.
They have to talk and communicate as they scramble and force another tough shot. I mean, just great rotations defensively by Houston. It is a clinic when you watch this team and they're clicking on all cylinders that end of the floor.
And the roll for Joseph Tugler.
Roxy, sometimes people ask me, how would you describe Houston's defense? I said, it's kind of like when you're in elementary school and there was that kid that every time you turned around was like, hey, Roxy, how you doing? How you doing, Roxy?
So you're saying me it's Sean Farnham?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, a little annoying, that they're always in your face. And every time you think you've got something clean, somebody else is stepping up and being like, hey, we're still here.
Brooks tries to turn the corner. Now the double team gets run at him. Colby King off on the three. Joseph Tugler, another rebound, then a steal. Landed more for Butler. Then he launches a three.
I don't mind that at all. It has been tough to find an open look. You get one. And sometimes when you play Houston, your first open look is going to be the only open look you have. So if you have one, take it. That's the first made three. Did they rule it a 2? Foot on the line?
His foot must have been on the line. And now they're saying it's a 3. And a foul, and it's on Houston going for the rebound. One more look at it, but it appeared Moore was behind the line, and they've ruled it a 3 for the time being.
That's just good effort, though, defensively. Watch not give another play. L.J. Crier's got his hands up, and he just shoots the gap, goes around the official. Yeah, both feet behind the line. It is a three-pointer. That's their first made 3 of the game. They're 1 for 8 from deep. And this is a team that shoots 42% and averages almost 9 made threes per game.
And both teams have shot it well from 3 this year. You gave the numbers for Butler. Houston's 42.5%. They're 5th in the country in three-point field goal percentage. Bowden Kapke down low. Kapke steps out to the corner. And he rips out a 3 and flag through the lane. Jawan Roberts clears the rebound for Houston as Roberts in the top 10 in Houston history in rebounds. Roberts goes to work inside. And the rebound secured by Colby King for Butler.
That was a forced look by Telford.
L.J. Crier, and he's fouled. He'll get free throws coming up, and Houston's defense dominating this game. 8-point lead for number 17, Houston.
Coming in the season about Juju Watkins, and deservedly so for what she did in her freshman campaign at USC. But Hannah Hidalgo has just been absolutely silly with it. And for them to go beat Texas last week and drop 30 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and you couple her with Olivia Miles, it might be the best duo in all of women's college basketball.
2 shots for L.J. Crier after the foul on Bowden Kapke of Butler. And Crier, 95% from the line. Played 3 years at Baylor, now his 2nd year here at Houston. Last year, 2nd team All Big 12.
One of the keys for Butler has been, although they haven't got good shots where they feel comfortable in any kind of rhythm, just 2 of 17 shooting, Roxy, they've not hurt themselves with any live ball turnovers. 0 live ball turnovers so far through the first 12 minutes of this half. Now, they got to start making some shots, and they've had some good looks that just haven't gone down. They can't deviate from their offense. You have to have faith that some of those looks from 3 are going to go down.
Bill Telford drives the King. He's tied up by the hands of Terrence Arsenault, and the arrow belongs to Houston.
And just as I said, that is the 2nd time Telford has forced a look. He has not gotten going at all at the offensive end of the floor. Only 2 shots before that one, and he's trying to drive in, really going nowhere. Like, he's not being able to turn and get that defensive player on your hip where you feel confident that you're going to be able to finish.
Down low, Joseph Tugler. Good footwork on the block by Tugler, who has 6 to lead the Cougars.
Boy, he has been very composed with the ball in his hands. And to go along with those 6 points, how about 6 rebounds? Outstanding first half for number 11 in white.
We can see why Kelvin Sampson put it back in the starting lineup today. Now the steal by Tugler. Step back, the fadeaway jumper spins out for Terrence Arsenault. Now Butler looks to move it up the floor. forced out near midcourt. And he throws a wild pass that goes off the side of the backboard out of bounds. And nothing is easy at all for Butler on the offensive end. More college hoops tonight on ESPN2 and the ESPN app. A top 10 matchup in Seattle at Climate Pledge Arena. Number 4, Kentucky gets the 7th-ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs. Third game in 6 years in a series between Kentucky and Gonzaga.
I remember last year that game came in February, and it was a much-needed contest for Gonzaga, who had 0 quad 1 victories up until that game inside Rupp Arena. A game in which they won. And if you like offense, you're going to love this game. I mean, 2 of the best scoring offenses in the country, 2 of the best assist-making teams in the country, but they do it very differently. The 3-point line really key for Kentucky, and points in the paint going to be key for Gonzaga, just as it was a year ago inside Rupp Arena when Graham Ike had a huge game.
Mark Pope, certainly no stranger to taking on Gonzaga, as formerly the coach at BYU. They were in the same conference with the Zags. And there is a foul, and we're going the other way, an offensive foul in Houston. Second on JoJo Tugler.
A couple of those screens, you see the last second just extend that right leg out ever so slightly, draws the contact. Here's the key though, Butler right now is allowing Houston to dictate where the ball goes in their half court. And because of that, it's allowing Houston's defense to load to the ball. What does that mean? It means that help is always in rotation. That's a clean look you have to hit.
And Patrick McCaffrey does for Butler.
And see, they got them in a little bit of rotation. They had 2 come to the ball, and they moved it quickly out of there. And then that gave them the advantage at the offensive end.
Now loose ball picked up by Colby King. Here come the Bulldogs.
One more, he's wide open.
He's in the corner, and back-to-back threes for Patrick McCaffrey.
The ball has to move against Houston. If you dribble the ball against Houston, you almost have no chance because you're not getting downhill on them.
Francis spinning. And a foul going for the rebound, and it's on Butler. And it's called on Pierre Brooks, the second of the Bulldogs.
Butler shooting 20% from the field, and it's now a 2-possession game because of back-to-back 3-point shots by McCaffrey.
And plus the turnovers that Houston's committing is already, they've committed 8.
And 5 points off those turnovers for Butler. To me, Roxy, though, those last 2 possessions, it's quintessential of what you have to do. Get 2 to the ball and then play out of it and swing it quickly.
First points for Javier Francis. Eight-point lead for Houston. They've led by as many as 12. As McCaffrey tries to get inside and strip from Andre's screen. The Cougars and Milos Uzan in transition. And rolls in somehow. Sat on the front edge of the rim and dropped for Uzan. Open for 3. And the back tap by Patrick McCaffrey. Foul that will send Colby King to the line as he found an opening for Butler. It's on Milos Uzan.
That last layup by Uzan. How did Houston end their shoot-around today, Roxy?
Layups.
After layups.
After layups.
And what they do at the end of their shoot-around is everybody on the team goes through and they make combination layup. So it starts with the right hand, then it goes to the left hand, then it's also step through reverses.
And as elementary as that sounds, it's so critical.
And you just have to learn how to operate and finish. And if you miss one, you got to run it down back.
One more for Colby King. Tomorrow, big matchup here in the state of Texas. 2-time defending champs, number 25 UConn takes on the Texas Longhorns in Austin. Coverage begins 5 Eastern on ESPN and the app. UConn and Texas tomorrow. Also, another interesting matchup tomorrow on ESPN. You have #1 Kansas in Missouri.
Yep. That game, though, between the Huskies and Texas, you've got two of the best freshmen in the country. Paul Biancardi had them both inside the top 10. And you look at Liam McNeely and what's been asked of him, and then Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson is an electric scorer, and he's going to be ultra aggressive against the Huskies defense tomorrow.
Rebound, Emmanuel Sharp for Houston.
Just drive down to Austin after the game tonight.
I'm good with that. I'll go watch UConn and Texas. Inside 3.5 to go until halftime in Houston. Up and under. Too strong for Milos Uzan. Another offensive rebound. Ramon Walker Jr. kicks it out for the Cougars. Off 1 foot, the floater. And the rebound tipped to Colby King. Offensive foul, the second on Pierre Brooks.
And the third charge in the first half by pushing off and trying to do a little bit too much. Can't play one-on-one against the Houston Cougars. You've got to move the ball. You've got to force them to bring. You know, and to Coach's point, defensively, what does Houston do? They load to the ball so well. Outside of just rebounding the ball and offensive rebounds, they got 7 to Coach, is what Coach was saying. But you play one-on-one, you're not getting downhill. I talked to multiple coaches who have played this Houston team even this year, and they say it's almost impossible to play one-on-one and get downhill. How you can get downhill on them is when you draw 2 to the ball, play out of it quick, and the ball doesn't stick, and it's moving, and they have to overhelp, and that can create a seam for you to drive. But if you try to go in that middle third and just go one-on-one, you're not winning that battle. They take pride in Houston of winning the one-on-one battle at the defensive end of the floor.
Patrick McCaffrey, the rebound. Double-digit lead for Houston inside 2.5 to go first half. Butler has won 6 in a row coming into this matchup. Longest active home court winning streak on the line here.
Those are 2 of America's greatest, by the way, in studio right now.
You're just trying to score points with them, aren't you?
No, I spent like 12 days with them in Bristol, so they became family.
And a 3 knocked in.
Did find out that Seth Greenberg has never seen Ace Ventura.
Stop it.
I told him,
Cassia with the 3 for Butler, by the way.
I told him I'd go by the house and watch it with him. He didn't seem that interested.
Shot clock rolling down. LJ Cryer the miss from deep. And another offensive rebound for the Cougars.
The position defense is fine, but as Coach was talking about, you give up second and third opportunities. Eventually, it just wears you down.
Milos Uzan. And there is Augusto Cassia for the rebound, the native of Brazil for Butler. It's fitting that you brought up Ace Ventura, considering we have Cougars against Bulldogs here. And a 3. Pierre Brooks, the miss, will stay at this end, says Ray Natilli. And a foul on the Cougars with 1:07 left in the half.
I was thinking more about you and me and Diamond Head later on this month and Dolphins.
Wonderful fine snowflake. Second on Ramon Walker Jr. And that is the bonus now for Butler and a 1-and-1 for Augusto Cassia. Started now 7 straight for Thad Matta. Off the bench the first couple of games for Butler this year. The Butler team, their only loss to this point was a surprising home loss to Austin Peay. They have some solid wins along the way. Beat Mississippi State, SMU, Northwestern.
Well, and free throw line has been a big part of how they've scored points. They rank in the top 15 nationally, getting to the line and making almost 20 free throws per game.
As a team, they're 77% from the line. Just outside the top 10.
love his length, his aggressiveness, and his ability to finish over the top. Like he's very fluid off the bounce. Where are you going?
Right to Milos Uzan, which is not where he wanted to go with it.
You're just driving to nowhere, and you're leaving your feet for what reason and what purpose?
The use it or lose it 30 for Kelvin Sampson. Be back at 30. 8-point lead for the Cougs. Six-second differential. Houston with the ball and an 8-point lead. They have just stifled Butler here in the first half. The Bulldogs just 20% from the floor. What's crazy, Butler's 4 for 15 from 3. They're 1 for 10 from 2.
Nothing easy. You're never going to get anything easy inside the paint. Here in this possession, a lot of times what they like to do is try to set an on-ball screen and then Sharp will pop off the screen.
Milos Uzan. A drop.
That is perfect execution by Houston. They had Sharp set the screen. He pops. And then the drive forces the back line of the defense to over-rotate and give up an easy dunk. Uzan did a great job reading the back line of this defense on the drive. You step up, Roberts steps in and finishes with ease.
10-point Houston lead at the half over Butler. As we go to the studio, Dallin Cup.
Points coming off of those 8 offensive boards.
Your game summary, 8 points in the paint. And the interesting number from Butler offensively for me, Sean, they were 4 for 15 from 3 in the first half, 1 for 10 from 2, as Butler shot 20% from the floor in the first half.
See, instead of trying to dribble back and away from your basket when the pressure comes, you've got to be willing to accept that pressure if you're Butler, and you've got to rotate it crisply and fast.
And a 3, the third 3 for Patrick McCaffrey, and he has 9.
9 of their 21. He has been really the only guy that has shot the ball with confidence and consistency.
Step back, LJ Cryer answers for Houston. First field goal for Cryer. And the third 3 for the Cougars in this one. Back to a 10-point lead. Maybe the teams will get going now on this end.
Well, Jamil Telfort has to get going for Butler. 22+ points per game over the last 3, averaging over 17 per contest. And he went to the break with nothing.
And that goes over the top of the backboard, out of bounds off the miss from Pierre Brooks.
That's one of the things Houston does really well in their pregame prep. They talk about taking off option 1, right? And Seth Greenberg was talking about this with me a lot when we were in studios. When you're at the top of the scouting report, how teams scheme and how they give a point of emphasis to take you out of rhythm, right? And make somebody else beat you. And when you're playing a team that is as defensively sound and as aggressive as Houston, I mean, that's a tough day at the office.
The top option, scoreless. For Butler is Milos Uzan on the drive. And Uzan with 9 to lead the Cougars, but Telfort, scoreless. Pierre Brooks, 2 points. Those are the top 2 options for Thad Matta. A miscommunication, and Pierre Brooks letting Patrick McCaffrey know, my bad.
Yeah, you got to catch the ball. You can't just let it go out of bounds. Uzan just doing a great job weaving through the defense. Shifts the body weight of the primary defender and gets past him and gets him on his head.
And a travel, shuffling the feet. Juwan Roberts the walk. And Goes over to Butler as Houston right now has matched their largest lead of the night at 12. And it bears repeating the stat, though, coming off the loss, that overtime loss in Vegas to San Diego State. Houston has won 29 of their last 31 games coming off a loss. Now, they've been very successful, Sean, in winning games, but what else does that tell you about a Houston program under Kelvin Sampson?
Well, it tells you that he knows his team and how to hit the right buttons to get them to fix the problems that they were having. And again, tough to do that when you're on the road in Las Vegas at the Players Era event that they were at. Not a lot of time to get practices in, but certainly, as you talked about throughout the course of the first half, Roxy, dialing up the intensity at the defensive end of the floor, dialing up the pace in which they operate at the offensive end of the floor. Those were the 2 points of emphasis all week long, with the caveat of we have to be the best rebounding team we possibly can, because they rebounded defensive-wise in Las Vegas just 64.9% of their opponents' misses. If that was their season average, it ranked 340th in college basketball right now. That's not who Houston is. They are an elite rebounding team, and they've shown it tonight at both ends of the floor.
They've had the opportunity to go back to the practice court to do those things this week as Pierre Brooks drives and gets inside for Butler.
That's their first points in the paint they've had the whole game.
LJ Cryer, the pull-up jumper off the screen.
The ironic thing is, if you're Thad Matta and we talk about Telford and Brooks, Sharp and Cryer really, how about that move by McCaffrey?
Right to the bucket, Patrick McCaffrey with a game-high 11.
Let's go back down on Patrick McCaffrey. He thrives. You put pressure on him, he's not going to shy away from it.
Manuel Sharp not shying away from contact.
But the point I was going to make before McCaffrey got the dunk was, we talk about Brooks and Telford. Well, Sharp and Cryer really haven't been too involved offensively for Houston. It's been other guys that have stepped up. And here at the start of the second half, Cryer has really started to assert himself in the scoring department.
Good ball movement by Butler, and down the lane and one for Augusto Cassia for the Bulldogs.
Good ball movement, shifts the defense, creates seams, and then on the catch, how aggressive can you be? Patrick McCaffrey says, I see the rim, I want to get to it.
.org/donate. 100% of your donation goes directly to cancer research.
And of course, you saw the images there of Patrick McCaffrey, who is diagnosed with cancer at the age of 13. And you were raised in the McCaffrey household, you're competitive, you're tough, and you're a warrior. Whether it's Fran McCaffrey, the head coach of Iowa, or his wife, Margaret, who's an All-American at Notre Dame. That competitiveness and that fight that Patrick McCaffrey brought against cancer is ever present when you talk to him, and got an opportunity to spend some time with him before the start of the game today, and just so glad that he's in college basketball, doing what he loves and playing at the level in which he's been playing with. It should be noted that we were talking with Thad Matta earlier today. He talked about his friend Sabrina Donovan, who's very much so in the thick of that fight right now, and just praying for her. This battle against cancer, it doesn't know what school you support. It doesn't care where you live, how much money you got, what your ethnicity is, what your faith is. It doesn't matter about anything. Cancer impacts all. And of course, for us at ESPN, we talk so frequently about Dick Vitale, and deservedly so, because Dick Vitale is not just a legend based on his broadcasting career. As Rick Barnes said to me on Tuesday when I was in Tennessee, his true legacy is the millions and millions of dollars that he has raised to fight cancer, and how many lives he's saved through his work with the V Foundation. And of course, we all hope that Dick Vitale continues to get better. He's got some scans coming up here, and Coach, if you're watching the game, you're in our thoughts and prayers, and we're sending our best wishes to you and the scans that you've got coming up.
You know he's watching the game. He's Dick Vitale. He watches everything college basketball. And our thoughts and prayers are with you, Dickie V, that you're going to beat this. Andre's screen. And challenge. Good defense by Joseph Tugler for Houston.
Think about this, though, Roxy, back to the game. 9 points in the first 4 minutes and 15 seconds here in the second half for Butler. That's half the points they scored in the first 20. The problem is, though, they can't stop L.J. Cryer right now, who has come out absolutely on fire here in the second half.
8 of his 10 since halftime. Houston has matched their largest lead. Andre screen on a putback will get to the line.
L.J. Cryer just does an outstanding job of getting his feet set underneath him. At all times, he's on balance. You see him square his hips and shoulders right to the cup, and it's got a beautiful release.
Third foul on Joseph Tugler. Andre's screen, the transfer from Bucknell, at the line. And the 7'1" senior has one more. Coming up tonight, ESPN2 and on the app, number 4 Kentucky and number 7 Gonzaga. 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific from Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. Kentucky and the Zags in the battle in Seattle tonight.
I mentioned earlier about how well Kentucky shoots the ball from beyond the arc, plus 12 points per game from the three-point line. Gonzaga ranks 4th in the nation in three-point field goal defense, holding opponents just 24% shooting from deep. Right now, Butler would like to hold L.J. Cryer to 24% shooting, but that's not the case. He has been unstoppable here.
It's been a different player here in the second half. Again, the margin 12 for the Cougars. This is a guy Butler needs to get going, Jamil Telfort. Andre's screen, he's grabbed, and he'll go back to the line, the first on L.J. Cryer.
Poise and patience by Telfort there. You know he wants to score, Roxy. You know he wants to find a rhythm, but he can't. And they bring 2 to the ball, and when they brought 2 to the ball, because he didn't try to overpower or go through somebody, he allowed himself to set up his teammate to get to the free throw line. Cryer a step slow in that rotation over from the weak side.
Screen, who started the first 2 games for Butler this year, has been coming off the bench since. And the 7'1" Screen, who left Bucknell 9th in their history of block shots in 3 years. And now his second year at Butler. Goes 1 for 2.
Butler, you think about the fact that the point guard position, they don't really have that quintessential pass first lead guard, and against a defense like Houston, man, it can make things difficult to try to get you organized.
Milos Usan again for the Cougars in the backcourt. For Houston, a real problem for Butler, and the largest lead now for the Cougars. 12 for Cryer, Usan with 11. And a foul as Colby King ends up on the floor. First on Terrence Arsenault. Look, you're not asking Milos Usan to be Jamal Shead. That's impossible.
It's unfair.
But he's stepping into that role essentially for this team.
Well,
coming in from Oklahoma.
The challenge has been very simple, Roxy, right? It's to get outside your comfort zone. How physical can you be?
Featured men's hoops matchup tomorrow in Austin. The 2-time defending champs, number 25 UConn and Texas. Coverage begins 5 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
First true road game for the Huskies. Obviously struggled over in Maui. But came up with a huge win without Alex Caravan against Baylor.
Terrence Arsenault attacks. And he gets knocked down. We'll get to the line. Arsenault a little slow to get up. Third and Andre screen.
They just shift you with different change of directions, changes of pace. Arsenault, one of those guys I mentioned in the first half, because he's a lanky slasher. He moves well without the ball. But when the ball's in his hands, he's got a strong burst on that first step attacking. And that's what got him the contact and allowed him to get past his initial defensive player.
Rattles in for Terrence Arsenault. And one more for the sophomore, who, when he came to Houston, one of the highest recruits in Houston history.
It's tough to come here and find minutes and find confidence. Mercy Miller's going through it right now. But you have to be patient and understand the process. And the type of players that succeed for Kelvin Sampson are those that are disciplined enough to understand exactly what they want to do. In particular, the things that he's not willing to sacrifice. And one of the things Coach Sampson is not willing to sacrifice is effort and attention to detail at the defensive end of the floor. And for a lot of highly touted high school kids that are so fluid and able to score at the offensive end, that becomes a struggle. That's the norm, by the way, to struggle there. It's not the abnormal.
And an air pass, and Butler with a turnover, their ninth. So Houston ball. And speaking of recruiting, and Paul Biancardi, ESPN's national recruiting director, I know you talked to him about this outstanding class that Kelvin Sampson has coming in next year.
Yeah, Chris Senack is the #1 center in the country, can really shoot the ball, by the way, so he'll add a different dimension, stepping away. Kingston Fleming's really elevated up in the rankings to #12. They have the #2 recruiting class in all of college basketball right now, just right behind Duke. It's the first time Houston's ever had 3 5-star prospects. Flemings is everything you want in a point guard.
And a timeout for Butler as Houston has pushed a lead to 16.
Now the offense for Houston has come in large part thanks to #4, LJ Cryer. Only 2 points as they went to the half. Came out, he's 4 for 4 from the field here in the second half. He's got 12 points now, and on each one of these, you just see how calm he is in his release, how relaxed his shoulders are, how squared they are on the iron at all times. He's been outstanding here in the second half. So efficient, as has been Houston, shooting 73%. They've scored on 9 of the team's 12 possessions here so far in the second half.
In each of the last 5 possessions. And a 16-point lead for #17 Houston, their largest of the ball game.
Meanwhile, Butler hasn't scored a field goal in over 3 minutes and 38 seconds. They came out great at the start of the second half, and then their offense has broken down.
3rd foul on Milos Uzan. The stat bears repeating that coming off a loss, which Houston did last Saturday in Vegas in overtime to San Diego State. Houston has won 29 of the last 31 games under Kelvin Sampson when coming off a loss. Trying to keep longest active home court winning streak in the country going as Patrick McCaffrey way off with that 3. As they've won 25 in a row here at the Fertitta Center, tied with UConn and Drake for the longest active streak.
Been stuck in my mind, and as I think about that Kentucky-Gonzaga game later tonight, I think about what Ryan Nembhard's been able to do. 86 assists to only 14 turnovers. That's a 6.14 assist to turnover ratio. He's the only player in the last 15 seasons to average 10+ assists and have a 5-to-1 assist to turnover ratio in any calendar month of the season. And if you want some historical relevance to it, how about this? The single season assist to turnover record is 5.17 by Monte Morris back in 2016, 2017. It is in play for Ryan Nembhard with the way that Gonzaga runs their offense and how often the ball is in his hands. He's got to value that rock tonight in that contest against Kentucky.
Manuel Sharp, the spin. Point lead for #17 Houston. By the way, did you hurt yourself? You said you got something stuck in there.
My head?
Yeah.
I know. Lots of things get stuck in there. So Creed was playing during the commercial break. That was stuck in my head for a while.
And a mugging that will send Landon Moore to the line. And 2 free throws coming up for Butler. It's first on Emmanuel Sharp.
And just rotating over. Good ball movement again. Butler's offense, if the ball gets stuck and you're dribbling it and you're going nowhere with purpose, like if you're going to dribble the ball, you got to go somewhere. You got to go somewhere towards the basket. You got to create action for somebody else by dribbling towards somebody, having them rub off you with a dribble handoff. You can't just dribble and go nowhere with the basketball.
One more for Landon Moore. Junior from Bloomington, Illinois, the transfer from St. Francis of PA. And Moore hits both free throws. Butler's got to find a way to get stops. They can't do it here in the second half. 6 straight possessions with a bucket for Houston. Allen rattles out for the offensive rebound. Javier Francis underneath. And a foul on Augusto Cassia of Butler, his first.
Roxy, we came into the game talking about how solid Butler is at the defensive end of the floor, how they make you take contested shots, how they stay between you and the basket. But because their offense is struggling, I think we've seen some of that bleed over here in the second half, and a little bit of that physical wear down from just how hard they have to compete at the offensive end of the floor because of how Houston defends. And it allows Houston to get cleaner looks. Now, Houston has not been a team offensively that has thrived in the second half throughout the course of this season. They've actually struggled in scoring the basketball, but that has not been the case this afternoon. Look out. Take off.
Terrence Arson. There's a run out they wanted to avoid. And the foul, the second on Emmanuel Sharp.
Yeah, you throw a lazy pass against this Houston defense straight across the floor, you're begging them to go get a layup or a dunk at the other end of the floor. Now you just cannot throw a straight line bounce pass across the top of this defense.
Terrence Arsenault, who had the torn Achilles that he dealt with, played in just 10 games last year. Playing his way back with the steal and slam. And it's Landon Moore back at the foul line for Butler. On the front end of the 1-and-1. Butler's in a really tough stretch after a 7-1 start, and again they've won 6 straight. The only loss to Austin Peay at this point is the foul on Augusto Cassia. But they're in a stretch now, Sean, where they're going to play their next 5 games. 4 teams in the top 25.
Yeah, you mentioned the game here, obviously, against Houston today. They played Mississippi State before this one. And then you've got Wisconsin on the 14th. That's on a neutral site, kind of. At Marquette
kind of.
On the 18th, and then UConn. And Marquette just knocked off Wisconsin. That's a travel out of bounds, by the way. But this is a very difficult stretch, and that's why it's going to be important, if this score remains the same over the final 10 minutes, Roxy, that when they get back home, similar to how Houston felt coming back from Vegas, you want to play these games because it shows you where you need to improve. And you got to work on some things and get them right. And that's good offense right there, but you got to finish that. I mean, it's a great pass.
And the 3 by Finley Bizjack for Butler.
But I think a lot of their issues here today was just how you're going to handle physicality, how you're going to handle the pressure of teams that want to get in you. And as you get the ball, they step into you and make you feel uncomfortable.
And Houston's been tested already. This 4-3 record, again, losses. San Diego State in overtime. Alabama in overtime. Auburn. Terrence Arsenault on the drive. And Finley Bizjack will put him at the line.
All he does is draw fouls, evidently. I mean, his first step, and he's by you. And then you're reacting, and Arsenault's going to go back to the free throw line.
Let's go, White. Let's go, White.
But, Roxy, to your point, it's worth noting again, up double digits against Auburn. Up 9 against Alabama.
Up double digits on San Diego State.
Yeah, up 4 late, though, against San Diego State. And this is that stretch, by the way, that was part of the point of emphasis for Coach Sampson at shoot-around today, is executing in the final 10 minutes. When you give great effort at the defensive end of the floor, and they ask and require an awful lot of energy at that end of the floor, how focused can you be to get good to great shots every single possession? If you get a good or great shot every single possession, you give yourself a much, much better chance of being successful than settling for something because it's easy. And a lot of times getting that good shot, Roxy, is hard. And what makes it hard? You have to be unselfish. You have to cut with purpose. You have to set a good screen. And in late games, that can be difficult.
They've certainly made life difficult for Butler in this one. 10 to shoot for the Bulldogs. And the foul is on Milos Uzan. That's 4 on Uzan with 8:37 to go. And back to the line, Landon Moore for Butler.
Look at Uzan. He fouls out 3 games this year. His assist total drops, and the team loses. I mean, in all 3 losses, he's fouled out. And that's one area he's going to have to continue to get better at. And part of that is just making that transition to how they have to play or how they want him to play here. And being tough doesn't mean you foul. Being tough and defending means you move your feet. You take that extra half step when that's required. You don't elevate out of your stance early.
And that was a focus for Kelvin Sampson at shoot-around this morning. Here at the Fertitta Center is Milos Uzan making that move, coming down from Oklahoma. Last year led the Sooners in assists and minutes played. But it's a little bit different playing here at Houston than it is at Oklahoma, where Kelvin Sampson used to coach, by the way, as L.J. Cryer again for the Cougars.
L.J. Cryer is a little different here in the second half than he was in the first half. 13 of his 15 coming here in this first 12 minutes.
Stepping out for a 3 from the corner by Augusto Cassia. His second 3-pointer of the season. He's got 11 along with McCaffrey to lead Butler.
They forced that long run out on the baseline late to the closeout, gave a good clean look.
Manuel Sharp on a step back. 3! 4 Cougars now in double figures as Sharp has 10. And a 3 that's short from Pierre Brooks. L.J. Cryer creating space. Was all the way down and popped out. And the reach in that will send Telfort to the line, looking for his first points of the game.
Well, the ability to knock down the perimeter shot. Emmanuel Sharp, one of the best in the country. Little step back, space, he got it. Ooh, I think about back to Butler now in Houston, and that Mata back in the playing days.
Look at the flow.
Look at the high tops. Notice he has no arm sleeve, knee, like leg sleeve. Like he's just
the short shorts.
Yeah, but the short shorts are back, so like he's actually very much so in fashion there.
This is just the second all-time meeting between Butler and Houston. And the only previous meeting was in November of 2021 in the Maui Invitational that was played in Las Vegas. And Houston pulled away from Butler 70-52 in that game. The first round of the Maui Invitational. Jamil Telfort, his first point of the game, and it took him 33 minutes and a second.
And remember, he was 21 of 21 from the free throw line coming in. And you look at his production over the last 3 games, 61% field goal percentage, 22.3 points. We talked about in the open of the game. It's tough to go on the road and win when that dude at the top of the sky report doesn't deliver, and a very rare miss for him right there.
He had made 23 straight prior to that free throw. But Telfort averages 18 points per game. He's had 20 or more in each of the last 3. You saw the numbers for the last 3 games. And now he's finally on the scoreboard making 1 of 2 free throws. Inside 5 to shoot. Emmanuel Sharp. 3! Tough shot from Sharp.
Well, he just took the screen and the defense sagged off. And if you're going to give him room, especially late in the shot clock, he's taking it.
Largest lead of the game for Houston. Sharp will try to do it again, and he does! Emmanuel Sharp. Now for Sharp. As the Cougars are pulling away. And Jamil Telfort, unfortunately, it's been that kind of a game for him.
Back-to-back possessions, late shot clock, defense sags off, a little step back, drains it, then very next time, same situation. And you have to understand, he has logo range. You know, I mean, more and more in college basketball, we see it at the NBA all the time. Guys like Steph Curry, like guys can shoot from extremely deep, and when you've got a guy that can shoot 53% from beyond the arc, you better stay attached to him.
Can't let him get free. It's Terrence Arsenault now with 12, and it's a 25-point lead for Houston. Patrick McCaffrey, and the rebound grab by Javier Francis.
Valued possession. Forced Butler to have to defend late in the shot clock.
It was a 10-point game at the half, and Houston has dominated since halftime. Neither team really found their footing offensively in the first half. Butler hung around as Emmanuel Sharp, a little bit of a heat check, and a foul going for the rebound, and we're going the other way. It's on Javier Francis.
I might have left if he made that one, just in case you were wondering. I was literally debating as the ball was in the air, am I about to take off my headset and walk away from Roxy for the rest of the night? I mean, that was
How
deep.
many times has that thought run through your head, though?
Probably too often. I don't want to make you feel bad.
At least once a game?
We still have a lot of games left to do together.
Be careful what you say. Pierre Brooks at the line here. And the double bonus for the Butler Bulldogs.
Brooks and Telfort 0 for 9 from the three-point line in this game. Both are 40% plus three-point shooters. They just haven't had clean looks, and a part of that is because neither one are natural playmakers, Roxy. So a lot of times they needed to get it within the flow of the offense. Well, their flow's been disrupted because of the physicality of Houston, and so therefore they haven't had the opportunity to find clean looks.
Both free throws knocked in for Brooks, former Michigan Mr. Basketball, the transfer from Michigan State. He started all 42 games since transferring over from Michigan State to Butler. Terrence Arsenault.
You see the way he gets into the rhythm off the bounce? He's just yo-yoing the basketball, and he's walking himself into a spot where he knows he can elevate and knock it down.
Houston's offense here in the second half has been really fun to watch. Slithering inside and missing the layup was Landon Moore. And just nothing going Butler's way in this one. In the second half,
70% from the field.
16 for 23 and is 6 for 10 from 3. Weaving his way into the key. LJ Cryer, the miss. Got it back. Corner 3. You got it.
He prefers 3 over 2, Roxy. But how did he get that?
Tells me that's better.
How did he get it? Well, he missed the layup, right? But offensive rebound. The bigs not giving up on the play, manufacturing an extra shot attempt.
And you look up, all of a sudden, it's a 28-point game. Here's a long 3, and the first field goal for Jamil Telfort tonight. This has been a tremendous second half performance from Kelvin Sampson's team. The offensive rebound, Juwan Roberts, the kick out.
Smart by Sharp. He didn't even think about taking that shot. Like, run some clock here. Game is in complete control.
LJ Cryer. He's doing what he wants to do.
He's just very smart in how he probes. And identifying the best scorers in the country, they identify a spot they can get to, Roxy, where they know they can score. And that time you get all the way through the defense, you're weaving through the paint, and you stop and turn, and you know you can get that little floater game going.
And the rebound grab by Juwan Roberts, and I'm going to put myself out there on a limb right now, Sean. It's going to be an historic day, more than likely, for Juwan Roberts, because if this lead holds, Roberts will become the all-time winningest player in Houston history, and those two have a lot to do with the strong second half performance. Over in Dallas today.
Well, yeah, but that game tonight, I mean, Alabama, everybody in the state of Alabama is going to be watching that game. And I know what the computer says, and that's fine. But I would not feel easy if I'm Alabama and I see SMU lose to Clemson tonight.
Hey. Percy Miller down the lane.
But to your point, what do you think they should do with Arizona State? Because I thought Coach Dillingham post-game said something pretty smart. He said last year they kept Florida State out because their quarterback got hurt, right? Well, Sam Leavitt missed a game, and they lost that game. With him under center, they are 11-1 on the year. Do you think there's any case to be made for ASU to host, to get that bye and be one of the top 4 seeds?
Yes, I do. I think there is a good case for Kenny Dillingham in Arizona State. That performance today against Iowa State should speak for itself.
Remember, preseason, they were predicted to finish last in the Big 12.
Kelvin Sampson getting some guys in off the bench. Cordelius Jefferson, the pull-up. And the redshirt freshman with a jumper. Malik Wilson in the game. Also, Cedric Lott, sophomore from the Ivory Coast. And a 3 by Bowden Kapke for Butler.
Impressive performance here today by Houston. They came out and they did exactly what Coach Sampson wanted them to do. They defended. They held Butler to 18 points, the fewest first half points they had all season long. They dominated the offensive glass. They won the rebounding war 41-22. They won the points off of turnovers. That's Houston basketball. How they played this afternoon into this early evening here in Houston is exactly how they want to play moving forward.
They end Butler's 6-game winning streak. Bulldogs fall to 7-2. Houston now 5-3 and gets back on track. And with the win today, you think of this program in the history here at the University of Houston, Juwan Roberts has just become the winningest player in a Houston uniform. His 122nd career win. You look over the Big East, sitting right over here, Elvin Hayes. You think of Akeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler. But that is the winningest player now, Juwan Roberts, in
And-
Houston history.
And plenty more games to be had for this Houston Cougars team.
So they win it by a final of